Hello everyone, today is 12th of November, now it's about 10 o'clock in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for the day in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. Later on today, towards the evening, I will publish my second news update on my Patreon and Boosty pages with all the additional news that Russian media will report about, additional main news, of course. And if you are looking for more reporting from Russia, more commentary, or if you like my work and want to see further development of this project, you're more than welcome to join our communities on Patreon and Boosty. Links are on this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. That's being said, let's go through some news now. And first of all, TASS news agencies reported during their nighttime, early hours of today, this morning, Russian air defense systems on duty intercepted 13 drones that was launched by Kyiv regime with the assistance of NATO member states to strike deep inside Russian territory. At this point, no reports about casualties on the ground or more or less significant damage as a result of this yet another attempt to strike deep into Russia by Kyiv regime. If any update, of course, I will share additional news on that on my Telegram and the next updates. TASS news agency is also reporting, based on Russian Defense Ministry's update, that Russian armed forces liberated settlement of Kolesnikovka in Kharkov region. Let me show you on the map this settlement. So this is Kupiansk direction, and on the southern flank of Kupiansk direction, we can see this settlement, Kolesnikovka, which is located on the northern side of Kruglakovka, about liberation of which I reported some about 7-10 days ago. And the progress of Russian armed troops, Russian armed forces continues in this area. And dear friends, some channels on Telegram in Russian segment of internet even are reporting that Russian troops actually entered Kupiansk itself. Although this report may be early call, I'm not quite sure about this news, but that's what has been shared on at least some of the channels in Russian segment of internet. Also, dear friends, when it comes to Kharkov direction, we have this report from Argumenty and eFakty, Arguments and the Facts, Russian newspaper, and here we can read that according to military expert from LPR, Andrei Marochko, some 7,000 Kyiv regime's troops are now trapped right next to Oskol water reservoir on the left bank of the Oskol river, basically. And if we zoom in, dear friends, that's their water reservoir that Marochko is talking about. And there are some 7,000 troops of Kyiv regime are trapped in this left side of the left bank of this water reservoir and the river itself. And I guess it's only a matter of time and the Russian troops will neutralize these enemy formations. Also, when it comes to updates on the battlefield, according to a number of Russian sources, settlement of Dalny and the settlement of Novoselidovka were also liberated on the southern flank of Pokrovsk sector. When it comes to Dalny, this settlement is located on southern side of Kurakhova town, and as you can see on the map, dear friends, Russian troops clearly are pushing towards encirclement of Kurakhova, and reports are coming in that all their main supply and support lines of the Kyiv regime's garrison in Kurakhova is under Russian direct fire control and the drone control right now. So I guess it will not take long before Russian troops will establish full control over the Kurakhova itself, which was playing a crucial role. It was one of the main logistical hubs, after all, of the Kyiv regime when it comes to central and southern sectors of the front line. So progress of the Russian armed forces continues all along the front line, and every single day we are receiving information about liberation of this or that settlement. Let's continue with some more news, and Glad newspaper is reporting about Russian long-range precise strike that took place in the last 12 to 24 hours. As a result of one of the strikes in Kharkov direction, Kiev regime lost 70 military personnel, key aid, and according to some rumors, among them significant number were members of the neo-Nazi formations like Azov and Kraken, and more than 100 military personnel was wounded, and that's just one strike, result of the one strike in Kharkov. And obviously Russian armed forces conducting many such long-range precise strikes on a daily basis. And of course we have to talk once again about this Washington Post's report about Putin-Trump phone call that seems like never actually happened. But yesterday I spoke about this report of Washington Post, which claimed that a phone call that Trump called Russian president on last Thursday and asked Putin not to escalate. Yesterday I shared my take on all this reporting, by the way, no need to explain. I was questioning this report of the Washington Post because I had some doubts that Trump will use an approach that was highlighted by Washington Post during his talk with the Russian leader. And later on yesterday, Kremlin reacted on this article in Washington Post and called it pure fiction, basically. So all of us who were skeptical about this report of Washington Post were correct, by the way. So US President-elect Donald Trump and the Russian President Vladimir Putin did not have a phone conversation about Ukraine conflict. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov has said the Washington Post claimed on Sunday that Trump called Putin after winning a new term as a US president to discuss his vision regarding how Ukrainian crisis could be defeated. Peskov said on Monday that their article was a vivid example of the quality of information published by even some respectable outlets. This absolutely does not correspond to reality. This is a pure fiction. This information is simply false, he told the press. And he was too kind, by the way, to Washington Post. Let's be clear on that. Washington Post is definitely not a respectable outlet. In the Western world right now, there are no respectable outlets in MSM, in the mainstream media. No Washington Post, no New York Times, no Wall Street Journal. None of them, by the way, can be trusted. There are propaganda tools in hands of deep state of US, in hands of intelligence community of the West and the Western ruling class, right? And I have an impression that some sort of operation is underway by US intelligence and community and deep state to derail potential de-escalation between Washington and Moscow during the Trump's administration. And that's why possibly Washington Post come up with this article in which language was used that I find it difficult to believe that Trump will use during his conversation with the Russian president. For example, topic of de-escalation. According to Washington Post, Trump asked Putin not to escalate. Who is escalating? It's collective West that is escalating constantly, right? And it's collective West that provoked this conflict to begin with. And also Washington Post was claiming that Trump mentioned during the conversation US presence of the US troops in Europe, as if we don't know here that there are quite a number of US troops in Europe, and what? This was kind of threat to us that, you know what, obey our orders, or we have troops here, or what, man? You're not gonna talk like that with Russia. It's nonsense. It's nonsense, total nonsense. And that's why I was questioning authenticity of this report or correctness of this report. And Peskov reacted on it and said that it's a pure fiction, by the way, nothing like that had happened. So we should expect, dear friends, we should expect more and more false news, fake news from these so-called media outlets, MSM, Western MSM, because it is clear that some sort of this media campaign is on the way to derail potential de-escalation between Washington and Moscow. And it's not just media campaign, by the way. Some serious attempts are taking place to influence Trump one way or another, to keep him in a camp of these warmongers that are all about further escalation of this proxy war against Russia. After all, President of France and there was reports that President of France and Prime Minister of UK, they are working hard to basically persuade Trump to stay in this camp of warmongers, right? And many others, by the way. There are so many Russophobes and just mentally ill individuals among Western so-called elites that, I mean, you may get tired counting of them. So yes, this news was a fake news, by the way. Fake news, and more fake news to come from Western MSM. I'm 100% convinced on that. Also, interesting report from RT here that her NATO Admiral complains about Russian nukes. So NATO forces would already be on the ground in Ukraine fighting Russian troops if it was not for Moscow's arsenal of nuclear weapons. Their outgoing chief of US-led bloc's military committee, Admiral Rubio, has stated, speaking on Sunday during a defense summit in the Czech Republic. Bauer released NATO's past experience of their taking part in the conflicts in Afghanistan and Iraq. He noted that fighting Russia in Ukraine would, however, be not the same as fighting in Afghanistan because the Taliban militants did not possess nuclear weapons. I am absolutely sure, Bauer said, if the Russians did not have nuclear weapons, we would have been in Ukraine kicking them out. Well, how delusional this individual is, and he called the admiral. How he get to this position, by the way, being admiral? I mean, how this stupid, intellectually bankrupt individual become admiral, by the way, in the Western world? This is I don't know, man. This is shame on NATO, really. Shame on Western military traditions. Because admiral to be this stupid, first of all, he is bragging about how they would kick Russians out if no Russian nuclear weapons. I mean, last time I checked, it was NATO that was kicked out from Afghanistan, right? Am I wrong? If anyone was kicked out from somewhere, it's actually NATO member states. France is kicked out from Africa and processes are accelerating. NATO troops under the leadership of US troops were kicked out of Afghanistan. So what this admiral is talking about? Taliban defeated NATO without any nukes, right? Am I exaggerating anything here? No, I don't think so. So this I mean, imbeciles, by the way, that's what they are. Morons, total morons, by the way. Vast majority of these so-called elites in the West, I mean, this is the face of them. I mean, stupid, absolutely stupid individuals. And it is so obvious, that Russian leadership was absolutely correct by heavily investing in modern weapon systems, especially hypersonic weapon systems. Russian leadership was very correct while investing in upgrade of Russian fleet of ICBM carriers, because they are openly saying, by the way, they are openly saying that they would love to send citizens of NATO member states to fight Russia, to fight us, and to die. What the hell, man? And I did not see any reaction from public in the West. on these statements. Is if this person, Bauer, is talking about some trivial stuff. He is talking about World War, by the way. And it seems like no one is paying attention in the West. Almost no one. Of course, there are small, well-informed groups that are opposing all this madness of their Western ruling elites, but unfortunately, they are unable to influence majority of the societies that are trapped basically in propaganda of the Western ruling class and are unable to really understand what the hell is going on. So that's the face, by the way, of the Western militarist. This totally stupid individual. I wonder what IQ he has, like 20, 30, or maybe less, because it's total imbecile, by the way, moron. Let's continue with some more news. RIA Novosti is reporting that US, according to Russian Foreign Intelligence Service, by the way, US elites are planning to conduct presidential and parliamentary elections in Ukraine in 2025. And this report itself highlights how independent this former Soviet republic is, isn't it? That it's a Washington that considering to conduct elections, basically to get rid of Zelensky, because Zelensky and his inner circle, because they are becoming too much of a bargain for his bosses in the West. So let's translate a few sentences here for a little more detail. So Washington is considering the possibility of holding presidential and parliamentary elections in Ukraine in 2025. According to Russia's Foreign Intelligence Service, the press office of the Foreign Intelligence Service of the Russian Federation reports that according to information received by SVR, the leadership of the US State Department continues to work out options for changing the current leadership of Ukraine if necessary. Washington considers holding presidential and parliamentary elections next year in the context of continuing military operations with Russia as one of their legitimate ways to eliminate their excessively presumptuous Zelensky and his inner circle, his associates. So, I mean, headline said it all, by the way, that Washington is considering to hold their elections in so-called elections in Kyiv-controlled territory. Okay, Ukraine is so independent, by the way, so independent, most independent of all the independents. Anyway, let's continue, dear friends. This is, share your take, dear friends, on whatever topic you find interesting. RT is also reporting that Trump picks Iran hawk for UN envoy. So, US President-elect Donald Trump has nominated Republican Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, a staunch ally of Israel and the foreign policy hawk, to serve as the next ambassador to the UN. I am honored to nominate her chairwoman Elise Stefanik to serve in my cabinet as US ambassador to the United Nations. Elise is an incredibly strong, tough, and smart America first fighter, Trump said in a statement to the media on Monday. So it's official, Trump confirmed this information, and well, I guess neocons already are putting their candidates in Trump's administration. And this is not the first, and I guess not the last servant of the neocons and the deep state that will be in administration of in the future administration of the US. I don't know this person, who she is or what. I heard some stuff. She is very pro-Israeli, not America first, but it seems like from what I read, Israel first. She's that kind of person. Probably she has strong ties with her IPAC or APAC, right? And she will serve as a not so much as US representative, but as Israeli representative in UN to block whatever decisions UN will come up with that Israeli leadership will not like. Just mark my word, by the way, that's how it's gonna be, right? And I mean, we are not that naive, isn't it? We all know how influential deep state intelligence community, military industrial complex, these multinational corporations, and also some foreign centers of power like Israeli lobby, for example, is in US, and of course they will push hard to maintain a strong grip on their administration, and they will achieve this, by the way. And that's why I think US foreign policies will change significantly. I'm afraid because of the recent statements of Trump, because of the number of his associates. I'm afraid during the Trump's administration we will see significant escalation in the Middle East and significant escalation between US and China. And maybe Western ruling class will provoke a military conflict between Taiwan and China exactly during the Trump's administration. I don't know. Let's see. When it comes to US-Russia relationships, during the pre-election period, J.D. Vance and Trump himself made statements that were giving hopes, at least to some people, that we might see the escalation. But yet again, as I said in previous updates, I don't want to be too optimistic or overly optimistic on the topic of possible de-escalation. I want to see the escalation, but one thing is the statements and other is their policies, and we should wait and see what kind of policies new administration will push in regard to Russia, in regard to this proxy war that collective West is waging against us. Let's continue. And the Kommersant newspaper is reporting that we know another name of the US politician who will serve as potentially a head of State Department in US. So New York Times, by the way, come up with an article that Senator Mark Rubio has been considered by Donald Trump as head of State Department. I don't know how qualified Mark Rubio is to lead the US diplomacy. I just don't know. I mean, he's just too younger. He's not a professional diplomat. Okay, he served as a senator. Maybe he had some other positions also. But I don't know, man. US needs professional diplomats, in my personal opinion. But who knows? Maybe Rubio will do the job. I don't know. We will find out. But yet again, this was initially reported by New York Times. So this news could be there. I mean, this news also can be misinformation, right? Because we cannot trust these Western propaganda outlets, by the way. But we will see. Probably today or tomorrow, Donald Trump will say himself who is considering to be head of State Department. Also we have this report from Vzglyad newspaper that Greta Thunberg, this green activist or climate activist or whoever they are, by the way, was protesting in Tbilisi, Georgia, against Baku against Azerbaijan, because she thinks Azerbaijan is not acting in ways that she would be happy with. I mean, by the way, just go in Baku. Why you are protesting some topics that are related to Azerbaijan in Georgia? Go in Azerbaijan, and I'm quite sure she will be welcomed there. She will spend her, she will be so welcome that she will probably spend next significant number of years in Azerbaijan happily. Yeah. So you just go there. Why you are destabilizing Georgia with your protests? But she is, by the way, part of this army that was sent by Western secret services, Western bureaucracy to Georgia to destabilize, basically, as a support force for local assets of the West, or local so-called opposition. And meanwhile, these individuals are, making such statements about some other topics also, like Thunberg. Someone told her probably that Azerbaijan is a neighbor of Georgia, and well, she and a dozen of some other, God knows whom, by the way, come up with this protester action against Azerbaijan. It would be better, man, if they will go to Azerbaijan. I mean, Baku is a wonderful city, by the way. Really wonderful city, and she might like it there. Going Baku. What you lost in Georgia? So Swedish environmental activist Greta Thunberg held a protest action in Tbilisi, Georgia, on Monday against their COP29 summit, which opened in Azerbaijan. The correspondent of the Vzglyad newspaper in Tbilisi reports supported by several sympathizers. She said Azerbaijan was using the summit as a facade. According to her, Azerbaijan tightens its power and increases regional tensions. The protesters demanded the release of journalists and politicians, prisoners detained in Azerbaijan. So she is now a human rights activist also, by the way. She is a geopolitical expert especially in matters of Southern Caucasus region, and she is an expert in Azerbaijan. Also, as she is an expert in Georgian affairs, she's total expert in everything. And she is demanding something from Azerbaijani leadership. Yes, Aliyev is probably listening to her, and he's so threatened, by the way. Unbelievable. These fucking clowns, man, unbelievable, man. This is the face of the Western ruling class, isn't it? These imbeciles, truly imbeciles, by the way, that are pretending to be someone's, and pretending to have some moral stand or moral high ground or something. Who the hell are you, Greta Thunberg? Go and finish school, for God's sake, so that you would know something, really, anyways, man. But it does make sense to go to Azerbaijan if you want to protest something in regards to that country. What you lost in Georgia, Anyways, TASS news agency is reporting that Belarus, by the way, is officially now partner state to the BRICS organization. So this was announced. During the Kazan BRICS summit, historical, I would say, Kazan BRICS summit that took place just recently here in Russia. And now it's official. Belarus is a partner state. And also, by the way, Malaysia received their invitation to join BRICS. Malaysian leadership earlier delivered the request or asked, basically, BRICS to become a member. Unsurprisingly, absolutely unsurprisingly, Malaysia is receiving invitation, and I believe, by the way, number of other countries will also receive invitation to join BRICS, and next year, not in 2024, but in 2025, probably at least 3 to 5 countries worldwide will join BRICS. Malaysia will be obviously one of them. RT is reporting that Russia and Iran connect national payment network. So Moscow and Tehran have officially finalized their pairing of their national payment systems, so which will allow travelers from the two countries to use their domestic debit cards for purchases in either Iran or Russia. Media in Iran are reporting addressing a formal ceremony in Tehran on Monday. Central Bank of Iran Governor Mohammad Reza Farzin described the connection of Russia's Mir and Iran's Shetab payment systems as a major step towards economic cooperation and de-dollarization, as well as facilitating economic and tourism relations between the two countries. And he's absolutely correct, right? He's absolutely correct. I believe this cooperation between Russia and Iran has a great future, and more countries, more BRICS countries probably will join this initiative to basically forward cooperation of the payment systems, to, how should I say, sliyanie, to many other BRICS member states basically will probably support idea of local payment systems to also join this collaboration of their Russia's Mir and Iran's what is the name, by the way? Shetab payment systems. Yes, that's it. So it's a great news, by the way. Some additional step towards creation of alternative financial and banking system, right? Alternative to the immensely weaponized Western one. And dear friends, I will end today's update, first update on this news that Bitcoin is continues to skyrocket in its price and is reaching now 90,000. Right, just this morning I was reading news that Bitcoin reached more than 89,000, approaching 90,000, and probably it will not take long before Bitcoin will reach even 100,000 or maybe 110. I don't know. I'm not an expert in this field, but election of Trump's victory in U.S. presidential elections clearly boosted significantly this crypto world, right? Cryptocurrencies, not just Bitcoin, but many other currencies are also gaining momentum and increasing in price. So if you are an investor in a Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency, probably you're gonna have some good profits, and well done for a good investment. And that's it for this update. It's relatively short, by the way, which is great, relatively short. So hopefully you will find this update informative, interesting, useful, and if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary just about anything. This is only way we can at least try and influence algorithm to reach wide audience. And also, if you like my work, if you want to see further development of this project, please consider to support my work with small donations through PayPal platform or Boosty platform, or by subscribing to my Patreon page, on which I have some extra content on a regular basis, news updates, videos about life in Russia, and so on. I'm trying to have as many extra content on Patreon and Boosty as I can currently, and this is my thank to our community for support, isn't it? So I'm trying to keep these pages on Patreon and Boosty interesting. All the links on this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. And well, this is it. Have a wonderful day and take care.